Hi there, welcome to another Traders Community Podcast. Welcome traders, investors, punters and dribblers. Here with the glorious Madavi and the man they call Meta Johnny. So, a quick shout out, big day. And just a heads up, remember this is not financial advice. We're not here doing that. We're simply giving a real market insight from professional traders who are taking the time off their day to go through what is running the market or what we see running the market and how that's affecting fundamentals, technicals, and all that good stuff. And the aim is to improve your trading and risk exposure and perhaps help you avoid the pitfalls of trading. If you like what we do, subscribe to the channel, click the like button and smash the bell. Now let's get into it. So big rally today, Madavi, huh? After yesterday's big sell-off?
Yeah, kind of, felt like it was coming, but man, took a gamble at the close and kind of didn't work out for me.
Well, you had a great call. You actually called for this to come today or after yesterday's number. So we got that burst today, and it came off beautifully technically. It is.
That Fed news really gave it the extra feel to really give it a turbo boost that I didn't think we were going to get today or more tomorrow.
Yeah, so, you're talking about that Raskin withdrawing her nomination, who wasn't going to get in anyway after Manchin and most kind of rational, I guess, nonpartisan senators, given you're meant to be objective as a Fed governor, and this woman, most of you know, was become infamous for saying that fossil fuel companies should not get any money, whilst obviously with the energy crisis, that's kind of not what you want in that situation. It shouldn't really be the policy of Fed. And the relevance is that the Democrat Party was looking to push through all five. So her and I think another one was kind of pushing an agenda outside of what meant to be a conservative bank, even if you could call it that. So now, if she's out of the picture, it's more likely to get Powell and Brainard, who most people on both sides of politics are happy with, and the markets are happy with, just because it's known, right? So,
I mean, she would have been really bad. She would have got on. I mean, they would have pushed the Fed in a direction that I don't think we've ever seen.
No, and just think of where it would be of energy and other things. And it's not the point of it, right? These bodies are meant...
Well, it's what the bank's set up for.
Right, and they're not meant to be political, right? I mean, there's obviously a bias.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and it shows you where we're at. And it's at least... Sorry, mate, go ahead.
There's one thing to send someone who's like from a political thing, but then there's fanatics, and I think she was borderline fanatic.
Right. There was a similar one, if you want to go back, not similar in the sense of banning fossil fuels. I can't remember her name, but Donald Trump put up one who was all about, she was off the charts a little bit on gold and stuff like that, if you remember her. And she might have been even tied up with ending the Fed. I can't really remember. But you're meant to be, steer the course, be conservative. I don't know how conservative, not in the sense of politics, but just common sense. Bankers conservative.
There's one thing that you're in whatever your political race you are. There's one thing to do for the destruction of the company to get your policies passed. Those are fanatics, and they're no good for nobody.
Right. Well, so you have those, they get voted in, House Representatives or whatever, or Congress, whatever you want to call it, around the world. And so you get a voice, but you need a voice of reason in these sort of things. And the market took it as that. I think it was already well bid at that stage, but as you said, it just needed a little bit of a push.
It just gave it an extra feel to really close it up on the real highs at the end of the day, which I thought we would pull back, and that's where I got little bit of a,
Yeah, a little
not
bit early, yeah. We'll go through that when we look at the chart specifically. And it's interesting, Grantham, I think her name is, the Energy Secretary, was also a zealot. If you recall, when oil was just pushing up 70, 80, she laughed at people saying if we should produce more oil, specifically in Texas or the US, and was happy to go hand in hand to Russia and Saudis and all that sort of stuff. So Sierra Week was the week just gone, which is a big energy contract, probably the biggest energy conference in the world. It's every year in Houston. She's now basically saying Americans need to produce, it's different and all. It's just like, if you're going to be a zealot, at least have a... So it just shows you that it's all political. But anyway, and which isn't what you want in those parties or those positions.
We're kind of crossing into like a portal where like people are becoming like dictatorships. You know what I'm saying? There's like either my rule or no rule.
Yeah, my way or the highway. And then they find that doesn't work, and then
they'll do anything. It doesn't matter if it's bad for the country or bad for people or people are starving, and they'll just do anything to get that agenda. It's kind of blows my mind.
Well, here's the funny thing. They do all that, treat all those people like that, right? And then they expect the energy companies just to forgive it. It wasn't long before Biden accused all the oil companies of... And actually did an inquiry. There's like 3 months ago, maybe not even that. So what do they expect?
That drives me crazy. It was not too far ago where these oil companies were really in trouble. And
negative oil. Yeah, it's
I didn't
insane.
See the government running out handing these checks.
They were cheering. They were cheering that they were going to go.
Exactly.
And then let's
You fathom that and this. You know, that you expect these people to come over here and give you, with the Saudis, they're going into all the Middle Eastern, you don't see them rushing to their aid. They're like, we were almost busted and nobody was coming over here helping us. Who's going to look out for us?
Right. I mean, yeah, it's just no rationality. The EV, they push it without any thought about it. The cost of lithium, whatever, the different minerals.
3 weeks ago, mate, the world is... Now we're gone to a different part of how the world is. There's peace and calm. Then there's things are getting destabilized, and we're in that chaos part of the time period, I believe.
Yeah, agree. But I think we've been in chaos for a long time, and it's just people when they're blinded by greed, don't see it.
Where we're at today, and throughout history, you have these periods of time where stuff happens.
That's true. That's true. So in that background, let's go through what's happened today. So if you recall yesterday, it's pretty well play by play ahead of the Fed. We got the dump yesterday. I should say the long covering. Today we got the short covering. Right now we're trading at $95 in WTI. We've had API come out. We saw it travel under 94 earlier. Big shift down, obviously, and very clinical, technical. I hope everyone got it off that plus 2/8, or at least weren't caught long it. And we say time and time again, trade what you know, be wary of the dribblers and all that sort of everyday experts of everything. It's amazing. I've never realized people were that smart when we see it on Twitter, just know everything, all right? S&P, the cash is 25.58. Remember, if you are an S&P trader, if you haven't rolled, you make sure you do it before Friday. It's quad witching, remember, on Friday, so you should be out of them anyway by now, as we have. Russell is 1962. Big bounces here. Natural gas, $4.20, pretty much the same, 62. NAS, just under 13,500, and volatility came off pretty good. Just while we're on volatility, Barclays made a statement last night after market. They're going to get rid of VXX. I think the reason was it's oversubscribed, so that did some silly stuff today, which was good for a couple of trades. But moving right along. Sorry, mate?
They got rid of the TVIX and now this. Wow, I can't believe it.
Yeah, I think the other one... Well, so I'm always skeptical. I think usually it means someone blew up, but... I think there are.
T-Bix was awesome.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
T-Bix
used to
was
like that.
it went from $20 to $1,000 in like a week.
Yeah. So the thing is, when they get out of them, if people are all one way, they can get caught short or long on them, and then that becomes exit only executions. But I did notice IB stopped allowing trading in it today already. We're not with. I'm not with IB, but one of our friends told us.
I'm going to count there.
So we did a few trades. There was a trade on it this morning, and when they announced that announcement, it collapsed. So from 41 to 29.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it was weird, and it was going against reality. So when VIX was falling, it was going up. So let's look at where we went. As we said yesterday, on the S&P, we'd closed back over, done that little spit. And we argued, or at least believed, we were going to get a nice rally. So it's been a very, very fortuitous ride. We seem to be fortunate that we're getting it right. It's not always going to be like that. So we can see on the weekly, nice heavy green bar. We see all the resistance up above here, and you know where his support is. Tomorrow is Fed Day, so we'll talk a little bit of that in a sec. But look for some volatility. Look where it closed, and we did go long early in the morning. Actually, we carried a bit overnight. Then we bought some spoos, and we took profit right at the tankin on the daily. That was also plus 4/8 on the 1 and 5 minute for the intraday. So that turned out to be pretty good. And we're still pretty well. We're just a little bit under that. And so we are flat going into tomorrow. We'll trade during the day, but we're not going to have anything overnight. So it's been really good. You don't want to tempt fate. You have the whole Ukrainian-Russian thing, Putin, Zelensky, comment potential. You have what's going on in COVID with China, and of course the Fed and other things. Unforeseen, who knows? Who knows what we don't know about, right?
And mate, yesterday we talked about we're going to get a nice rally either today or tomorrow. But if we get one today, I'm suspecting tomorrow's one is not going to be as big as I thought it might be.
Right, I agree. A lot of short covering has been done, and that's a concern. Yeah. Perhaps it hasn't, but you don't know. But you want to trade your charts, trade the order flow, and that's what we saw. And actually, it was a pretty easy day today as far as when to get out if you'd been running it up. We had the hedge fund matching at 10 minutes to go. We had one little burst, and that went right to 4/8, and that's where we jumped out. And I think you did a little short there at the end, made some money. That was it for me. I was like, I'm done. Got out of it. We had a bunch of calls on, which we'll go through in a little bit. We kept some calls overnight, cheap, away from the money. Basically, take your profit. If it does do a flyer tomorrow, well, you'll benefit that way. So 240. You can see it more succinctly. This is what we talked about yesterday, that beautiful double bottom. And then we measured out. There is a chance if it breaks above here, it can replicate this move, which is a full 8/8 off here. Brings you all the way potentially up here. There is that potential on the long side. We know that the downside would be obviously all this fails, but look how false breaks happen. We saw all over for Twitterverse going on about the death cross and the yearly low. Well, it's all relevant if it holds. If it doesn't hold, it becomes a false break or a spin. So, keep all that in relevance. So what we will do tomorrow after it, you can move this triangle to take that or keep that as your double bottom. That's all up to you. Okay, let's talk NASDAQ. So here's the NASDAQ, and we'll have, let me widen that up for you. So if you want to chart. Oh, you just sent me one?
Yeah, check it out.
On Signal or?
Gold. This is an email I got.
Yeah, gold's had a nice big move. We'll go through that in a second.
I'm sure you can get it anywhere, but that looked pretty... Last 3 months.
Hang on, where'd you send it to?
Your email.
Oh,
Did I go through
email. Yeah. I'll go through that in a bit. Then we'll go through gold. I've got to find
If you
it.
want to send it to.
Okay, awesome. So let's go through NASDAQ real quick. So let's look at the 60 minutes so we can see what we're talking about with that false break. So if you remember yesterday, we talked about the S&P not breaking down under here, whereas this did. But so we had two things on NASDAQ, minus 1/8, and then it got under here. And so if you want to walk us through that, you got most of that long, and I think this is the short you're talking about. So
I think about an hour. So when we came in at like 11 o'clock, that's when I started thinking that we was going to get I thought there's a possibility we could go negative, and save the big run for tomorrow after the Fed. But the one thing I didn't account for was the Fed, and with Hatkins coming in, that gave it the fuel, just push it, push it out there. So, so I did well all day, and I got some good trades, and I should just do this is why you never try to predict the markets. Again, I tried to do something I should have not been doing, trying to be Mr. Houdini or fortune teller of the year, and that's what I should just play what's out there and not what my brain is, because what I'm thinking doesn't really matter.
Right.
So I did well all day.
You there?
Right?
Yeah.
Right here.
Yep. Sorry, it went all funny.
So it kind of screwed up. Then at the last 20, 30 minutes, I tried to, salvage the day. And, I made some good trades, some bad ones, but never could recover that mistake. But still, end of the day, okay. But, just gave away, right? Unnecessary. Yeah, right here.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, so I think the NAS is a little bit different. So SPOOs, I really never had any need to get out of it. It was pretty clinical. We did take half off, I think, in the last 20 minutes from memory on the SPOOs.
That was perfect. Straight up.
It was nice.
I didn't predict something.
So it was a little bit difficult on the SPOOs, if you recall. I did some work around the cloud. This is the one I think that caught on the NASDAQ. You can see the work. It did its triangle and popped. So a lot of it, and a lot of that is very symptomatic of short covering, market makers being made short, so they cover it in the last 10 minutes. So that's always worth understanding what actually goes on the market in the different situations and the events with the Fed. And that's why we spoke up front about Raskin, which may seem innocuous, but actually was a pretty significant thing, political and composure and all that sort of thing. So as far as tomorrow goes, your level on S&P and NASDAQ. And actually what I found really easy today at predicting everything was Apple. Apple traded to the point and very clinical along option levels, one hand but IO levels. And so 155 on Apple, when we look at that chart, you'll see how that ran everything. So that was, I think, why we had a real good day. That was, so I do a lot, just I guess from back in the days of market making, that Apple to me is pretty clinical, right? So let's look at a hourly chart on it. So I haven't looked at this for a while. So 155, as I mentioned. So yesterday, again, if you want to know what runs the S&P, and specifically the NASDAQ, look at this hourly chart on Apple. This is yesterday and how it opened. Gaps down, and look at this run. So here's what I'm talking about, 155. There was a ton of work done. And then finally, you got that little pop at the end. Basically, Apple went from 154.80 up to 155.5, and look where we settled, back under 155. So these are real levels. That could be anything from option market makers, whatever, needing to cover, or whatever it may be, whatever, if they've got to have a square book. In a perfect world, it would have gone to 156.20 to test all this. Maybe it does it tomorrow. We'll see. But you can see these levels, keep an eye on it. Know your Murray levels. As far as the other thing you probably want to keep an eye on is the semiconductors, the SMH we watch. So let's go to hourly on that. So it's important to watch more the index rather than just if you're watching just NVIDIA or AMD, you may miss the overall sentiment of what's going on. So you can see very similar. Again, look when you get this confirmation when it gets over all these lows and through the Tenkan 50 and the things we watch. So keep an eye on all that. That's your tech side. Oil's your big deal. So let's look at Exxon real quickly. So remember, we kept cautioning to take profits because it's got way ahead of itself. And if you wanted it for taxation reasons, then dividends, then you did things like buy puts or sell calls. And a lot of and in that situation, if you recall, I kind of use Oxy as my short one for this against the main ones we stayed in, for example. So have a strategy to do with all that. Let's
go over that coupon statement. You remember how we stayed long in it because the stock was down
much? Yeah, definitely going to do that. Let's just look at oil real quick, then I can pull over that. So this is all... Yeah, so this is all Sierra charts to answer that question from someone there. Let's look at... So this is clinical, everything we watch in Nova Waving, see how it works. So 60-minute oil, we all know the plus 1H, plus 2H. We know this is plus 2H on weekly, multiple time frames. This is 60. So this was not an easy trade given the background that was going on, the world war. All the media was all hyped up on oil, politics, etc. But those in the game had seen this before, and we tried to caution. And again, as we mentioned yesterday, we're kind of tired of people out there trying to disparage those that know what they're doing. I guess I've always wondered what earns the right for people to do that aren't actually ever done anything professionally in this space, because what it does is damage. And this is a great example, but the charts show this out, right? So look at this, plus 2H, and there's rationality for this, and if you know your simple patterns. And look where we are, minus 2H. This is on an hourly. So you're going to take your weeklies and dailies, and you're going to look at your levels. Look at what we looked at. This is what it held today, right? So this is a 3 or a 5. It's really that simple, okay? So look, you know your Elliott and all that. If you don't, perhaps one day we'll spend a bit more time on it. And here you go on your weekly. So just think, half the trouble with the dribble, it's all ego, and they may be trying to get some idiot, excuse the French, to pay them for something, right? You got to earn your chops, basically. So what they do is they never get you out. And they're telling you to buy, and as long as it keeps going up, I told you. Well, in reality, you don't want to be hanging on to this thing with all this overbuy. And look how far it fell. And this is this oil, the same thing's on natural gas, on any commodity, on stocks. And we're going to go through that in a minute. So we know those levels. On Natty, weather's changing, we're into the shoulder month. So all that is relevant, right? And obviously natty gas prices have come right off in Europe. It's also winter's out of the way, right? So think of all the rational. Don't be irrational, and don't get caught out by people trying to make a name for themselves or on TV or whatever. So they're your levels. You know all that. Okay. Actually, let's look at gold real quick. Then we'll look at Kupernet. So here is wheat that we're talking about. Same thing, right? Copper, same thing. This is one that because we actually look at this. FCX and copper, very classic. And so maybe we got to do more work around this, right? Let the market tell you, as Madavi said earlier. Okay, let's look at gold. Gold, remember, was with the break here in the length. It got you right to the double top, which is also plus 5.8. So it still breaks through here. You got all this room, but it's got to break through here. Right now we're flirting with the Tenkan and the Cajun, so it needs to consolidate. We'd like to see a perfect world, perfect ABC to get strength, and then bust through the top if you're a bull. A bear would mean a failure of this triangle. Okay, let's look at what we did yesterday. If you recall our trade, where did I put it? So if you recall, after the market yesterday, Madavi did that glorious trade. Coop had earnings. Cooper Software. Is it Coop or Calp? Or Cooper is a symbol.
Yeah, like coup d'etat.
Coup d'etat sort of thing got you. Well, they had you did a coup d'etat on it yesterday. So they missed their. Actually, I think they beat earnings. They beat on revenue, but they completely gave a really bearish forward guidance. But so they did make revenue. So remember, you did the short. You got all of this. Then we went small long overnight. Probably $1 against us by the time we bought after it had bottomed and tried to do this little bounce before the close. And then overnight, so if you see that little thing, actually we could have got out for a profit, but we looked at the charts, how oversold it was, and the facts that it had been down so much. And outside of the guidance, which a lot of that is talking down the, because you can, right? You always want to talk down your stuff in bad situations like war, COVID, all that sort of stuff. If you're these guys, I'm not saying we do it.
Going to lower down your estimates for next quarter.
Right.
Easier time.
Exactly, and we see that all the time in so many industries, particularly in the more high flying, risky industries, which is software is one of them. Anyway, we saw this really nice bounce. Look at this volume that came in. Incredible volume. So remember, you watch your order flow. Whether this was funds buying it, we don't know. Short covering. It's not for us to say. But remember, we expected something, and we're able to hold this for basically a $10 gain. So that's the other sort of thing why you do it. You have a strategy and a plan, right?
DJ, the Chinese ones. Look how beat up they got, and look what happened to them today.
Oh, yeah. So we walked through yesterday taking profit on JD, you mean, and IQ, yeah. Because JD's a better situation, but IQ, and fair enough, IQ we could have got out 10 cents better there, but it's not the risk. It's the unknown risk, right? Oh, that's on Cooper. So the only one after hours was this one, Smart Street. So they had earnings, they missed, and you saw this. This is really dollar spread stuff, but look what it did. I don't know if there's much volume, but 46, 36, and it settled in around 40. I actually was trying to get in around 41, so I didn't actually get it, but you got it. So nice little couple of buck trade there.
And I'm trading out of it. And when I got that bounce back up, I shorted it again at 38.50, 39, and 39.40. So that's where I'm at right now. Already, this is my second round of see if I can make some money. Already got the first round. I'm going for a second dip. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't when you go for your seconds.
Yeah, feeding the family. So I didn't realize I missed it. So I put an order here. I saw the retest. I thought it would test 41. Given this, suppose you got to 50%. Look how close. I didn't realize I was that close. Now I'm getting mad. It looks like the high was 41.01. I'm right here. And this is thin. I'm the only offer, right? I mean, there's at that point. So,
well, this thing got 50-cent spreads.
Yeah. And so that's part of it. You want to manage your risk, so basically you need to get in at good levels. Yeah, and then you got the whack, and it went all the way down here under 37. So this is a different stock. Sorry, mate. Huh?
You did the crazy one today. You know,
Kodak.
The crazy one today. Yeah. Or is an old stock, oldie but goodie, I'd say.
Well, yeah, to give you an idea how much the dribblers tell stories. So we put an order out there, decent. After the number, we got a total of 300 shares on the offer. So you'll read somewhere that someone probably did 20,000. And just look at your time and sales. So we made, and then I just basically, it went to a 30-cent spread on a $4 stock. This was a big name one day. I actually thought something would happen. Yeah, what did I get up? 31.
And then we played to Kodak.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Kodak. Yeah.
Spread.
All right, it ended up with that after, like 30 cents
really?
or something. Maybe it was 30 cents, but so it's in it. So
this company is American. What do you call it?
Icon.
American company that's like name's been around, and these people have still live in the 50s, and they just managed this company to hell.
Yeah, and so there's that factor, but another factor that we wanted to mention was this is one of those stocks where these trading rooms loved, right? Reddit, all that sort of. It was definitely a dribbler. Well, was it a dribbler? It was more a punter meme sort of stock. So we have its earnings. It's a $4 something, and no one's playing it. I mean, it's extraordinary. On one hand, how much these stocks are forgotten. On the other hand, it tells me how many people have been blowing up on this move, right? Or just scared,
Companies manage their opportunity. They were given the second lifeline, and they just completely blew it.
Yeah. Well, that's the story of a lot of these, but in that one, even more so, right? I think there's a political element with it.
From making cameras or whatever, digital stuff, to make raw material for all the pharmaceutical needs of the United States. And they have the facilities, they have everything. And I didn't know this, but I guess film and pharmaceutical, they use a lot of the same materials, I guess. So a lot of the same things that they use for, I guess, making proloids or whatever, they use in pharmaceuticals.
Well, and that's a big point. So one of the big things that America is captive, and not, I can't speak for other Western countries, but perhaps they are. But certainly the United States is captive to China for a lot of drugs, right? Which is interesting with the whole COVID thing. Even with that, even the extreme conspiracy theory that China did it all bio warfare and all that, or to whatever had happened, like a mistake or whatever it was. We know all that feeling out there by some people. It's kind of funny that every time it happens, they got to buy everything from China. Now, not saying anything anti-China. What I'm trying to say is that, and what the whole Kodak thing was to bring all that stuff back home, right? To make sense. To talk about security, it's not just who has the biggest guns and all that sort of thing. It's little things like health and food and water and all that sort of stuff.
Antibiotics.
And antibiotics is the word I was looking for. So that's what that was all about. So,
and the one thing I don't know about his stock is that is it caught up in the politics?
Well,
that could be a two.
Yeah, because it was a Trump thing.
Very unfortunate.
So, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot we don't know about. Okay, let's move on to the Fed. So the Fed tomorrow, it's like if you look at, just do yourself a favor, go to CME. We have it on the website, CME Fed prediction tool or something. But anyway, it's on the CME site. So that's at like almost 100% that it's going to be 0.25% tomorrow. There was talk when Bullard tried to push for 0.5% a while back. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the world. To be honest, it might only be a 2 or 3% chance, but it wouldn't really surprise me if Powell said, you know what, oil's off $30. Maybe it is transitory. I'm kind of half joking. But who knows what goes on with the war going on, COVID outbreaking. I think more than likely it's going to be 0.25%. And I think the market's convinced that that's a good thing. But we have, of note though, we have seen politically, I saw something like they increased the SBA loan period, payback, deferment, whatever. We've seen the COVID bills rearing its head again and all that sort of thing. So the difference, I think Powell is very wary of being linked to the government, given they've been very inept in a lot of things. energy is just one of them. But all of that inflation control, he's also made it very clear that it's supply and he can't help it. So anyway, that's going on. Let's look at the real world though. So this is the 2-year yield, 2-year bonds, 2-year notes, sorry. So this is best linked to the Fed funds. And you can see it's just been going up since I've tried to get the COVID period. So we've gone from basically... Yeah.
Vice President's wife or husband or whatever got COVID.
Who did?
The Vice President's wife or husband or whatever, that guy got COVID.
Ah, that just came out. What's her name? Yeah. I got you. Of the U.S. Okay.
It's kind of weird because you always have males, right?
Yeah. It's kind of a good thing in that respect if she earned her raps, but obviously she's not everyone's favorite vice president. I think she's the most unpopular vice president in the history of the United States.
She only got the job when she fit the check marks, I believe. What I know.
So on the 2-year, look at this. We've run, so it almost got to extreme overbought, and this is a 4-hour chart. So that's taking a lot in. It came from 08. So here we are, almost at, and look at the high. This has just been steadily going up. So that's our 2-year. So it's steady and inclined. And here's the other thing a lot of people forget. They become obsessed with the Fed. Well, the market itself, the bond and currency markets are the most proficient markets there are, right? Stock markets is the least because it's got all the dribblers. If you're a dribbler in this stuff in the real world, you got to earn your ropes and be able to handle billion-dollar deals, right? And how that works and do it. So these are more pure, is a good way of saying it. Other than the big manipulation things we saw with LIBOR and the Wales, JP Morgan Wales and stuff like that. And Fed intervention, the market does a great job of, as you can see, telling what to happen. And you can see, by the way, how much banks are being made getting this at 0%, Madavi, and they can simply just put it out at that. If we look at the 10-year, which is the one everyone, of course, that's the benchmark for most lending. Look where we are, people. We're up at 214.90. It was such a big deal, about 2%. Technically, and this is relevant in bonds, because technically we can still get up, and more than likely, that's 388. So that's your potential for higher yields. It all depends on the war. So I think that covers everything pretty well, right? We talked a little bit more than we normally did at the start about Raskin and how that affects it. So yeah, Fed tomorrow. Stay as, I guess, nimble and fresh-minded as you can for that period. We also have the other big thing with energy is going to be the EIA number, storage report out at 10:30 Eastern for oil. So let's see what happens overnight. Enjoy it. Be cool.
I make the mistakes so you guys won't have to. Hopefully you guys learn something from it, and best of luck.
And don't forget, if you've got just a little bit Irish in you, you know what tomorrow is. So enjoy it. Celebrate what it means. Have fun, enjoy, family, all that good stuff. God,
Are you
all
giving
that.
out gold tomorrow?
Sorry?
Are you giving out gold tomorrow?
Skull?
Gold, yeah.
Gold? Oh, mate, no. You drink your Guinness or your Irish whiskey. That's what you do. Maybe have an Irish too. There's no gold in Ireland, mate. Maybe potatoes.
I thought the little leprechauns give out gold. They always got a little pot of gold.
Talking about leprechauns, where is our mate? Anyway, on that note, I do have an Irish grandmother, so I can partake. Anyway, enjoy. Thanks, Madavi. Nice work today. A couple of nice trades there.
You guys tomorrow, be safe, hit likes and hit subscribe and tell your friends.
All that good stuff. Yep. And if you can't be cool, you know it. Okay, bye now.